sunglasses are crooked. It's one of those things that would drive me nuts. I was watching this video and the dude was standing there like that, like, fix your glasses, fix your glasses. So, here we are. Beard okay? Beard distracting? Okay, so, to get us started, today is September 11th, so I definitely feel like I should, take a moment to acknowledge everyone that was lost in the attacks on the Trade Center and at the Pentagon and everywhere else. So was it Flight 93 as well. And then, of course, all of the first responders that showed up. I shared the first responders that were lost. I shared on Facebook and Instagram stories of the working dogs that were there, either the therapy dogs that were there to help the workers or the dogs that were working for search and rescue, and the dogs that came later to help identify and find bodies. And then also all of the military members that joined in the fight in terrorism, and then all of everyone that was lost in those ongoing wars from that. So today is a big reminder, to be grateful for those who have lost their lives, and then to mourn those who had no say in their own, demise, honestly, their own taking. And yeah, definitely changed the course of a lot of things in the world. So today's a heavy day, and I feel like I can't start without talking about that. So there we are. Let's move on to Driven to Distraction: Recognizing and Coping with Attention Deficit Disorder from Childhood through Adulthood. Okay, we are on page 25. Case 2. No, we already did Carolyn. We did Carolyn's case, excuse me. We are on page 31. We are on Maria's case. Maria Berlin came to me for a consultation after reading a piece in the newspaper about ADD in adults. I didn't know there was such a thing, she said, crossing her legs at the calf as she settled back into my overstuffed couch. My husband showed me this article in the paper, and I started to wonder, should we give her a New York accent? Is that going to be too... Say New York, Jersey? What are you doing over there? Yeah. I didn't know there was such a thing, she said, crossing her legs at the calf as she settled back into my overstuffed office couch. My husband showed me this article in the paper, and I started to wonder. What are we, New England? Boston? Tell me a little bit about yourself, I said. It was always hard to know where to jump in when I meet a patient for the first time. There's a standard way of taking history: name, address, presenting problem, and so forth. But that can be overly structured and not give the person the chance to say what they really want to say. So I usually start with something that invites the person to say whatever he or she thinks matters. Of course, this can be misleading as well, because the inevitable jitters associated with the first appointment can lead one far astray. Maria, however, got right into things. I don't know what is wrong with me. Maybe there's nothing. Whatever it is, I've been like this for a long time. As long as I can remember. Since I'm now 41, that's a long time. My main problem is I don't get around doing the things I want to do. And we're going to skip these accents. I'm too worried about, like, hey, wait a minute, is this Boston? Where are we at here? I thought we were in New York, huh? My main problem is I don't get around to doing the things I want to do. Maybe that's just the pace of my life. I'm married and I have 2 children, 11 and 8, and they take up a lot of my time. But I've been working on my PhD for years, and the dissertation keeps sitting there half done, winking at me like a sleeping turtle. Sometimes I wish it would just walk away and leave me alone. Man, I feel that. That's what I was talking about. I mentioned it before that I have book projects, proposals that are half done, a quarter done, living in the idea phase, taking up space in my brain. And they weigh so heavily And then of course I started going back to school, so like now so much of my time, I'm hardly finding time to do this and that other stuff that I, just there, heavy. Walk away and leave me alone. I feel that. Do you have a regular job as well? I asked. Yes. Well, I want to, that is. I work at the library when I want to. Yes. Well, when I want to, that is. I work at the library in town, and they're very flexible about when I come and go. What I've been really trying to do, aside from finishing my dissertation, is start an exercise clinic for women over 40 at our local health club. I have a brochure I've been wanting to write for what seems like forever. The management of the place has been very receptive. If I ever get to it, they'll let me run it as my own business if I pay them a small rent. They think it would be a good publicity for the club. Your PhD is in, totally unrelated, English literature. Don't ask me what the connection between that and exercise is. I'm sure there's one somewhere, but I don't know where. My dissertation is supposed to be on Eugene O'Neill. I fell in love with O'Neill when I read A Long Day's Journey into the Night when I was in high school, and that love continued through graduate school. But in case anyone hasn't told you, the best way to fall out of love with something is to write a PhD thesis about it. I'm so tired of O'Neill I could spit. Isn't that sad? I thought at one time I had something original to say about him, but now I couldn't care less. Do you remember what you had set out to say? I asked. Oh, please. Don't make me dredge that up. It had to do with the autobiographical impulse and transforming that into art. Sounds pretty unoriginal, huh? But I had a new twist on it, or at least I thought I did. Maybe it was all just a daydream. You got sidetracked? Sidetracked? She said with a big smile. My whole life is one long sidetrack. I was supposed to marry Arthur, but instead I met Jim, and now we've been married for 16 years. You haven't been sidetracked from him? No, I haven't. He's my anchor. I don't know why he hasn't been sidetracked from me, but I don't think he has. Anchor is the wrong word, actually. It makes it sound like he's holding me back. What he does is stabilize me. I don't know where I'd be without him. Maria's energy and openness and her story so far were all typical of ADD, as was her tendency to get sidetracked, both in her life and in her conversation with me. Tell me more. About what? I'm not trying to be a wise guy, but what do you need to know? Well, tell me something about your childhood. In particular, what was school like for you? School was a real mixed bag. I loved to read from day one, but I was a very slow reader. The public school where I grew up was okay, but not very challenging. I got fair grades. They always said I could do better, but I was more interested in looking out the window or at some other kid. The classroom material was just very dull. It wasn't where the action was, as far as I was concerned. You graduated from high school? Barely, but I did. Then in college, I did really well. Can you imagine that? Which is why I went to graduate school. But that was probably a big mistake. I should have quit while I was ahead. You see, my problem is I don't know whether I'm smart or if I'm stupid. I've done well, I've done poorly, and I've been told that I'm gifted, I've been told that I'm slow. I don't know what I am. I am highlighting that. You see, my problem is I don't know whether I'm smart or if I'm stupid. Been told I'm gifted. Get out of here, bug. Been told that I'm slow. I don't know what I am. That's sad. It's not unusual for people with ADD to have erratic, inconsistent educational histories like yours. Were you hyperactive as a child, or any kind of discipline problem? Oh no, Maria said. I was a good little girl. I wanted to please whenever I could. I didn't want to please so much that I paid attention. I didn't want to please so much that I paid attention in class, my father used to say. If you really want to make your dad happy, you'll pay attention in class. But I never disobeyed or acted up, anything like that. I always just had a fantasy world I could go off into. So you got bored easily? I'll say. But then, maybe I had dull teachers. I wasn't in college. Well, what's in your way now? The same thing that's always been. My erratic nature. One minute I'm there and the next minute I'm not. I don't finish things. I get started and I drift off to something else and then I've forgotten about what I'd started in the first place. What's in your way? My erratic nature. I get started and I drift off to something else. Water. Water? Do I need water? Well, how did you get into exercise? I asked. Maria was obviously quite fit. She didn't look 41, maybe 10 years younger. Dark hair, red lipstick, bright cheeks. She looked like she could have played a part on stage. I wasn't surprised that she had taken up exercise. Aside from being one of our culture's preoccupations, it is remarkably good therapy for ADD, both focusing and relaxing the mind. Well, like everything else, it just happened. I had a friend who wanted me to take an aerobics class with her, and I said that sounded like death, but she persuaded me to do it. To my complete amazement, I loved it. I'm not a fitness freak, I just loved how the aerobics made me feel. And I liked the social aspects of it, so I began to hang around the club, took extra classes, qualified as instructor, and came up with this over 40 idea, which I still think is a great idea, but one I'll probably never get to. I know that. I know that for sure. How many great ideas exist? And it's like, oh, that's it. And then what's a bummer is like how it feels like this is the one, this is the idea. Have you dealt with how have you dealt with yourself so far? I asked, thinking as soon as I asked it that it was a dumb question, but Maria seemed to understand what I meant. Well, just by winging it. I thought I had a screw loose somewhere. I went to a shrink once, but it was when I was still very invested in trying to get my dissertation done. I thought maybe I'd done some kind of block he could cure me of. But we really didn't get anywhere, so I stopped going. Now you. Yes, now me, I said, at your husband's urging. No, this was my idea. He just showed me that article. What do you think? Is there any hope for me? She asked with mock melodrama. You're joking, but I have a hunch this has been more painful for you than you let on. Yes it has, Maria said, looking past me out the window. It's such an insidious thing. I've always known there was something wrong, but I thought it was guided into me, if you know what I mean. But with 2 kids, a husband, and a world to keep up with, I don't let myself dwell on it too much. It sure would be nice, though, to begin to finish things at least. Sure would be nice, though, to begin to finish things at least. Yes, I said. It's been very frustrating for you. How about reading? Can you read okay? I asked. If by okay you mean do the words get in, then yes. But I'm a very slow reader, always have been. Plus I get distracted in the middle of a page and there's no telling when I'll come back. Maria, I think you may have ADD. We'll want to do some tests and talk some more about your history, but everything you've said so far makes me think you've had ADD ever since you were a child. The daydreaming, the way you read, the getting sidetracked, your erratic nature, as you call it, your inconsistency, and your general sense of not knowing for sure how bright you are, all these things may be manifestations of ADD. You've compensated well, which is to say you've found ways of getting along, but you haven't done the things you've wanted to do. Well, what does that mean? Can my life be different? It is always difficult to answer that question in advance. You just know how the treatment for ADD will work before you try. You just don't know. You just don't know how the treatment for ADD will work before you try it. But yes, things can be different if the treatment works. It turned out that Maria did not respond to medication. While about 85% of adults will benefit from one of the several medications that are used for ADD, about 15% do not, for one reason or another. Some people have side effects to the medication they cannot tolerate. Some people simply find they do not like the way it makes them feel. Some people do not want to try medication at all. And for some people, like Maria, the medication just does not do anything. However, as we have mentioned, there is more to the treatment for ADD than just medication. Education, behavioral modification, and psychotherapy all can help. Maria derived benefit from all of these. In the first phase of her treatment, we focused on developing an understanding of ADD. As Maria learned about the syndrome, she was able to rethink many of her long-held views about herself, that she had a screw loose, that she was not competent, that she was defective. Able to rethink. You can see the little bug flying around my nose. Can you see it? Now it's around my arm. I may kill a bug in front of everyone if it comes back to me. Sorry, bro. Tiny little fly. What are you? Get out of here, buddy. As she began to see how many of her problems related to her being unusually distractible, we began to set up ways of restructuring her time to help her focus. Restructuring her time to help her focus. She began to employ traits she knew about herself but had not used to her best advantage. That she worked best in short spurts, that exercise helped her focus, that she benefited from lists, reminders, schedules, and rituals, that large, seemingly overwhelming tasks could actually get done if she broke them down into a series of small, manageable tasks, that she needed frequent feedback and encouragement, that it helped her to have someone, in this instance, me, act as a kind of coach, helping keep her on track. That whole thing needs highlight. This was not traditional psychotherapy, but a variant of therapy I call coaching, to stress the active, encouraging role played by the therapist or coach. I would not tell Maria what to do, but rather I would ask her what she wanted to do. Then I would remind her of what she had told me regularly and repeatedly. One might say that at the beginning of her treatment, we agreed upon a game plan, and that my role as coach was to remind her of her goals and objectives in an encouraging way, always with an eye toward keeping her on track. People with ADD can get off course so easily. They can so frequently get sidetracked, to use Maria's term, that it can be very helpful to have an outside person keep them engaged. Done this way, the therapy can act as a structuring force in the person's life, bringing her back time and again to where she wants to be but has trouble staying on her own. This is not psychoanalytically oriented psychotherapy, and that it does not depend upon the development and interpretation or transference, but the therapist does stand ready to receive and discuss the individual's hopes, fears, fantasies, and dreams. And such coaching therapy does encourage the development of insight. Indeed, insight is one of the most powerfully transforming factors in working with people with ADD. We should add that both authors of this book respect the value of psychoanalysis, both in treating patients and in researching and understanding human nature. Psychoanalysis remains the definitive and most thorough treatment available for what is commonly called neurotic conflict or pain. We do not recommend it as a specific therapy for ADD. Indeed, psychoanalyzing someone with undiagnosed ADD can be frustratingly ineffective. But once the ADD has been diagnosed and treated, the psychoanalysis can proceed apace. Can proceed apace? Is that afterwards? A-P-A-C-E? Certainly, the kinds of neurotic conflicts for which psychoanalysis is the definitive treatment can occur in people who have ADD, and the treatment for ADD will not resolve those conflicts. Such people can greatly benefit from psychoanalysis as long as their ADD is understood well. Can benefit greatly from psychoanalysis as long as their ADD is understood well. Maria rearranged her view of herself and her way of running her life. In our work together, the combination of education, encouragement, and coaching and insight led Maria to a new place. She completed her brochure for the health club and opened her business. It did very well. She decided she did not want to write her dissertation, that she really had never wanted to. She had been keeping it alive, as many people with ADD do, as an organizing principle in her life. Something that, although it regularly and predictably emanated pain and anxiety, she still provided an axis around which she could organize. She replaced her daily mantra of, I haven't done my thesis, I must do my thesis, with more useful self-directions. Whoa. So that's, again, I haven't done that thing. I haven't done those book proposals. I haven't, yeah. Okay. Replaced her daily mantra. Replaced her daily mantra of, I haven't done my thesis, with more useful directions, self-directions. Penny McBride's parents came to see me after Penny's 5th grade teacher. Okay, sorry. So this, now, that was, we're done with Maria. So let's just recap that real quick. So Maria, she comes in and she's like, I think those were just like the kind of the two main things. She wanted to do the sports stuff, but she was hung up with the dissertation. And then so then she wasn't really kind of doing either. And when she gave up the she decided to give up the dissertation and then chase the sports thing. Very well. I think that's a big lesson there. And then, but the restructuring, all of everything that was said right here. She benefited from lists. Exercise helped her focus. She worked best in short spurts. She benefited from lists, reminders, schedules, and rituals. And that large, seemingly overwhelming tasks could actually get done if she broke them down into a series of small, manageable tasks. She needed frequent feedback and encouragement. Frequent feedback and encouragement. I think for me, one thing that's so tough about needing the feedback and encouragement is like the slightest discouragement, especially if it's from a partner. Like, it's from my wife. If there's something that I like that's happening in our house that I want to do with our house or with the yard, or I don't know, something that kind of like affects our life to where her input has more weight on it than any other humans would, because it's our shared space. If there's anything that is just the slightest, not like, yeah, or yeah, even trips or food, or so anything that's the slightest bit not encouraging, like even if it's a sure, like sure, mainly through texts. If I hear it, and texting is its own thing too, but sure, like if you're not 100% on board, right? If you're not excited about my idea, then I don't want to do my idea. Because I was excited about it, and I want you to be as excited about it. And if you're not that excited about it, then I don't even want to do it anymore. And now I'm pissed about it, and now I don't like you anymore. In that moment, because I was excited about something, and you're not. And yeah, so I think that's a common thing too. I'm learning more about like the sense of rejection being extra for us neurodivergent folks, which finally kind of, I mean, other neurodivergents have welcomed me into the community, but I still don't feel like I've said, been like, hey, that is who I am. But I mean, I know my brain is different. I have known that for a long time. Maybe it's the word, or maybe it is that people are thinking that it's a just trend to hop on right now. Hi, honey bear. And with that, my baby girl is home, and I am going to be dad, ADH dad, and we'll get back with case number 4, Penny, next time we get back here. All right. Thanks for reading with me, everybody. Have a good day.